Houses, condos or land? Buy, rent or sell? Should we invest now or in the future? The Mix 88.5 Property Update.
Welcome to this week's Mix 88.5 Property Update, brought to you by the award-winning Tudor Group.
The Mix 88.5 Property Update.
It's Wednesday, it's 25 after 12, it's our property update. As always in the studio with us is Tim Gladwin. Morning, Tim.
Afternoon, Russell.
I knew you were going to say that. So it's our property update for a Wednesday. Actually, if you want to see it on a Friday, you can get it on Paddy Mail TV. You can also get it on YouTube as well now. It's, you're a popular dude.
Really? It comes as somewhat of a surprise, but no, it's nice to get out there, isn't it? You know, it's as I've often said, one of the great advantages of doing this show is you can have some people, those people listening or now watching, hear what you have to say. Adverts, which is perhaps the other main way of reaching potential customers, they're just glossy pictures of houses with a bit of wording, and it doesn't say anything about you, doesn't say anything about hopefully the quality of service you can give, the quality of advice you can give, and any opportunity like this, or writing articles, which is something else I like to do, the newsletter, I think that's how I like to reach people.
Yeah, and the newsletter went out after all the backup was saying we're not quite getting there, but it's gone out now?
Yes, it finally got out, I'm glad to say, although I think a few people received the September newsletter in the first few days of October, so it was a little bit late, bearing in mind how busy we've been, but nevertheless, it's nice to get it out of the way for another month, and it being late, we're having to start thinking about October's newsletter now.
No slap wrists and complaints about, why did it come so late?
No, everyone's always very understanding, I think.
Just happy to receive it.
Well, hopefully.
Which is always good. Now, over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about a glitch, and things have been extremely busy, which is good, not just for you, but for everybody else. How are things now? The glitch has gone?
I think it's fair to say things are still ticking along quite nicely. The last week has not been as crazily busy as it was for the previous 2 weeks or so. As I said last week, it was really very, very busy. We were run off our feet a little bit. That's settled down a little bit, but that's not to say that the market has fallen off a cliff. Far from it. We're steady away, ticking over quite nicely. It still remains the case that people coming into the office seem to be very genuine in terms of the fact that they're looking for something with a view to buying quickly, promptly, or at least renting, rather than, obviously, in any sales business, one tends to come across quite a lot of people who are looking very generally. They perhaps don't have a specific defined requirement. They don't have a specific date by which they're planning to buy. Very general in their inquiries, and that's fine. You know, part of the job is dealing with those people, giving them the advice that they're looking for about, in many cases, for foreigners, buying property in Thailand, the life here, what they can expect, what they'll need to do, in some cases specific queries about how they can buy and what they need to do, the security of it, how land is registered in Thailand, all those sorts of issues are things on which we obviously regularly advise, and it's part and parcel of the job. But obviously from a business perspective, it's somewhat better if those people coming in are looking to buy and buy quickly, because as everybody knows, we make our money when we do deals.
Yeah, which is always nice. And is it the same sort of people that are coming in, you can sort of put them in a box and say, well, this is the type of people that are coming in now, that's why it's become busy?
To an extent. I mean, what I have been saying over recent months is the thing that perhaps categorises most of our business best is the fact that they can't be categorised. We've had a wide range of different sorts of individuals, single guys, married people, foreign couples, couples who are half foreign, half Thai, a real mixed bag. It's been really quite incredible. We have developers coming in quite often and they're saying, what kind of people are coming in and what are they buying? And you have to say, well, in all honesty, there's simply no pattern at all. It's just been a real mixed bag.
This wouldn't be developers coming in to say what they're buying so they can decide what they're going to build next?
I'm not sure what they use it for, but maybe to an extent. But I think, obviously when they're asking you how things are going, they're interested. And certainly there's been at least one survey done trying to identify who are in town, what they're buying, where they're coming from, those sorts of issues. Because obviously it helps them target their marketing. But in recent weeks, we have seen a little bit more of a pattern in that the majority of the inquiries, not all, but the majority, have been for 1 and 2 bed condos. As with most buyers right now in the current environment, those individuals who are coming in are looking for good deals. They're not looking to pay full price, or what you might suggest was full market price. They're looking for good deals. Moreover, in terms of who they are, most of the business we've been doing recently is Western guys who now live here. We're not talking about tourists wandering in. We're talking about people who are relatively well established, either simply in Thailand and Pattaya, or in Asia and now in Thailand.
Are they those people that have got a property and are moving on from one to another, or they are just been around for a while and they're deciding that, now is the time to start buying stuff?
Yeah, generally they are people, like I say, who've been here a little while. Some of them already have properties that they own. Others who have been renting here for a relatively extended period, but have decided that the time is now right to buy something, to get on the property ladder here. Those people who already own here, typically they've been looking for investment properties. It's not as if they're planning to leave their current home. They're already settled and happy, but they're now looking for investment opportunities. And as we have said in previous weeks, while we're not awash with good deals or cheap deals, particularly when it comes to condos, because the market is busy enough such that people generally are not having to drop their prices. There are investment opportunities around. If you look hard enough, if you've got the time to not rush into a deal, because as I'm sure most people who are advising you honestly would tell you that an awful lot of mistakes can be made in real estate if you rush into a deal. That's not to say if you see something you shouldn't buy it quickly. What I mean is,
make sure you had a look at it carefully before you rush into it.
Well, you need to know the market. What you need to do, and however and whenever you do that, before buying anything in life, you need to know what the market's like. People in the West, typically, if they were going to buy a hi-fi, they'd buy what hi-fi for a few months. They'd look at the different models, they'd read the reviews, they'd find out what's good and what's good value, because that's the way you buy sensibly. The same applies to real estate, of course. You come here, you look around, you get a feel for the market, you see what's selling for what locations are good, what locations rent out. Once you've done that due diligence and you have that knowledge of the market, then you can buy as quickly as you like, because you know, and justifiably know, what is a good deal and what isn't.
Okay, which is always nice. Is it still overpriced in a lot of places? Because we have talked about that before. There's a lot of places that are overpriced. So is it got to a point now where sort of undersupplied on certain things?
Yeah, I mean, the way that things work with the overpricing here is that, to an extent, the fact that a high proportion of the market is probably overpriced by valuation, if prices are assessed on a valuation basis, i.e. if you work out what's the value of the land, what would it cost to build an equivalent block now, take depreciation into account, take supply of land or similar land into account, i.e. could someone simply go out and build another similar development or a similar house close by, a similar housing village? If they could, then obviously supply is potentially far greater than it already is, because you could build something next door. Obviously, if you're talking about the centre of Pattaya, down on Beach Road, that's not necessarily the case, and therefore values are obviously increased because there is a scarcity, or rather a limited supply.
Yeah, not much space there for anything these days.
Well, indeed, that's exactly right. But certainly, a lot of properties that are not in locations where supply of land is very limited, as we said before, it's very arguable that prices are, in many cases, too high. And that's why some of these properties are not moving. when you're in a market such as this, where you don't have a lot of mortgage lenders lending to most of the people buying here, then obviously you don't have the repossessions, and those sorts of sales do not bring the prices down in the market generally. So you have this ability, as we've often discussed, people who buy with cash and are not in any need of that cash right now, rather than selling at a price they're not comfortable with, they will hold on and wait for the market to turn, wait for prices to increase again. And so the normal supply and demand, the normal economic situation that you see in the West does not necessarily work quite in the same way here. And so you do have this propensity for some property to be overpriced. What that does, however, if you look at it the other way around perhaps, is that it makes those properties that are sold as a fire sale or as a particularly good deal for someone who's desperate to get money quickly, it makes them better value than perhaps they would otherwise be. If prices across the board fell 20%, then a house that's 20% cheaper than now is not going to stand out as a good deal, because you can buy anything at 20% less than the prices were a few weeks previous. But obviously, if most prices stay the same, but a handful of properties are available at 20% less, then that same reduced price is a good deal. So in other words, the good deals are made into better deals because a high proportion of the market is perhaps overpriced.
So that could be good if someone who's living next door has a really high price and high expectation of their property. Makes yours actually more nice on the market, more of a deal, basically, even though it was exactly the same before.
It's a simple comparison. You know, if people look at two houses that are basically the same, and one is 20% cheaper than the other, however that valuation relates to what you might call a true surveying valuation, value of the land, cost to build a house, so on and so forth, in the eyes of a purchaser, he's looking at two houses that are the same, and whether or not he should, he takes comfort from the fact that he's looking at one that's 20% cheaper than the other.
It's always nice to keep a few quid back in your pocket, though. That's always a nice time. Now, you were talking about a lot of people are still sitting on the fence and not going to move yet because they've got the money, they're okay, they don't need to sell out or move to somewhere new or buy somewhere new. Do you think these people that are sitting around like this now are just waiting for a unicorn? Because is it really going to change much over the next few years?
Well, it goes back to the point that we discussed perhaps a couple of months ago. What do you do? Do you wait around forever, waiting whether it's for the baht to weaken again or for house prices to fall, or do you get on with your life? You know, who knows when things are going to change again? I think the smart money, excuse me, the smart money right now,
is going to be making the sensible moves and deciding that, yes, although it was 70 baht to the pound some time ago, and at one point it hit 90, the basic stable has been 45 to 50, as we've said several times, before it went mad and was heading up to anywhere near that almost 100 mark, and now back down to the 40-ish mark. That's the sort of stable place for it to be, and it always has been. It's just some people still have that, oh no, I'm not going to do anything until it goes back up to 90.
And how long do you wait? How long do you wait before you get on with your life? That's the point I always make. Obviously, nobody wants to pay over the odds, but it's not like the baht has now been down at 47 to 50 baht for a few weeks. It's been there for a matter of years now. And while people don't like to get used to something that's not in their favour, they're going to have to. Like I say, the smart money is that the baht is going to remain in that range for quite some time, unless and until there's another significant economic shift in the world.
And that would probably actually go against everything as well, because if it did have another double dip or the recession or whatever you want to call it, Asia is still pretty well placed. Yeah. So if it does happen, it's going to be the dollar's worth nothing, or the pound or the euro's worth nothing, rather than the baht not being a strong currency.
Well, that's the way I look at it personally. I've been saying for some years now, Asia's the future. You look at any indicator, 60% of the world's population live in Asia. It's a statistic I like to drag out once in a while. 60%, 6 in 10 people live in Asia. The second biggest continent by population percentage is Africa, with 14%. So you're talking about North America, Europe. They have tiny proportions of the world's population, yet they have been obviously dominant. However, that's inevitably going to change, because not only do we have 60% of the world's population here, we now, manufacturing-wise, the vast majority of the world's manufactured goods are now being made here, with raw materials that are mined or acquired here. So the money flow is into Asia. You've got established first world communities in the US, Europe, and they demand more and more. They want more and more consumer goods, and they look to Asia to get them, because Asia is where they can be made cheaply. So all this money that they've dominated the world with for the last century or two is starting to flow to Asia.
Yeah.
And what do we see? Well, we see the growth in the Chinese economy of 10 to 12% per annum. India is now following suit. We see thousands of new millionaires being created in China every year. And again, India is not far behind. Between those two countries, you've got 2.5 billion people. You've got the fastest growing middle classes in the world. And most importantly, the manufacturing is there. I think if you speak to British economists, they will tell you that perhaps the biggest mistake from an economic perspective that's been made in Britain in the last 30 or 40 years was Margaret Thatcher closing down all the manufacturing industries in the UK and relying solely on the financial industry to make Britain great. Now, of course, the financial industry is falling apart and there's no manufacturing left. One reason Germany's pulled out of the downturn quicker than other countries is because, sensibly, they did actually hang on to a lot of their manufacturing, and you see it across the world, whether it's BMW...
Not just hang on to it, they actually brought everybody else's as well.
Well,
I mean, BMW is not just BMW anymore. BMW is all sorts of other brands, and some of those brands that we were doing extremely well in the UK. Rolls-Royce is one of those. I heard the quotes the other day about how well Rolls-Royce is doing these days, and that's basically a German brand now, which is a bit of a shame.
I think Rover is too, actually.
Yeah. All the Leyland. Yeah.
And Germany has proven that it's been a wise move, because when the financial markets have fallen apart, the UK, the question is, well, what's left? And the answer, unfortunately, is seemingly not a great deal.
Not even Cadbury's anymore.
Well, indeed.
So, we forget our Rolls-Royce, we can't even get our chocolate.
Yeah, it was all about rationalisation, laying people off, sending manufacturing over to China or wherever else in typically in Asia, in order that those people at the top could maximise their profits. But what happens to the country? If people don't have jobs, they don't have money to spend. It's a cycle, a negative cycle that results in, well, what we're perhaps seeing now, and it's really not great.
So everybody's pulling up out of the UK and coming to locate themselves over here, which we've known for quite a while, because it's a nice place to be. How does that compare with, let's say, you were from Hong Kong not so long ago? How does that compare to that? Should we not go and say, well, let's put in Hong Kong? It's a great place to be. It's a great economy, plenty of business. Singapore, the same sort of thing, or is still coming down to Thailand and Pattaya a great option?
Well, I think what you have with Hong Kong and Singapore is you have places that are predominantly business, focused on business. Once you stop working, once you get to retirement age, and obviously in the case of many people who are working in Hong Kong and Singapore, that's getting younger and younger, because you tend to earn very good money there. These are not places that you typically would want to live when you're not working, because they're small, they're concrete jungles. You tend to live in small places. You don't tend to have cars because they're impractical and overly expensive. So what people in these environments, particularly expats, once they get to retirement age and they're going to pack up working, they're looking to move somewhere else. Now, perhaps historically, a high proportion of those people would have moved back to their home country. Certainly in the case of Hong Kong and Singapore, obviously both former British colonies, they would have gone back to the UK. But that's changing. As we just said a minute ago, lots of people in the UK are now wanting to come to Asia. Those people who are already in Asia, a very high proportion of them do not see their future, whenever that may be, back in the West.
Yeah.
They just, everyone I speak to, and I still have an awful lot of friends around the capital cities throughout East Asia, nobody seems to plan to go back to their home country. They go to visit, but their life is in Asia, and that life in Asia is not just about their work. Once they finish the work, they're planning to stay here, wherever that may be. Some people like Bali, some people, an awful lot of people, like Thailand. And there's been a steady flow for a number of years of retired expats, particularly from Hong Kong, to an extent from Singapore, moving to Thailand to live. Historically, Patia's not done that well. I think it's fair to say that perhaps over the last 15 years or so, particularly Hong Kong expats, they've moved more often than not to Phuket. But as we said previously, Phuket is a holiday island. It's not a functioning city in the way Pattaya is.
Great place for 6 months of the year. The rest of the time, a little bit dead and dying and nothing much to do there. It doesn't really have the same... how should we say, the niceties that we have here. If you're on holiday, great in Phuket, but if you want to live there, it doesn't really have the same sort of bits and pieces here. I believe that the main golf course is an absolute fortune to pay, Blue Canyon.
Yep.
And you've got to queue up and get there, and then it's going to be I think the last quote I got was 100, 200 quid for a round at Blue Canyon, whereas 1,000 baht at some of the best courses around here, much better, thank you.
Well, that's exactly right. I was speaking to a former Hong Kong expat just the other day. He was saying that he and his non-Thai wife planned to move to Thailand, and they pretty much decided that Phuket was where they were going to be. However, something came up in terms of business, ongoing business, and he actually had to be nearer Bangkok, Pattaya. So they decided to take a look at Pattaya. He liked it. What his greater surprise, perhaps, was that his wife loved it here. She loved it because of the shops and the restaurants and the activities and the proximity of the Bangkok airport, the proximity of Bangkok. All these things, like you said, holidays are one thing. Normal day-to-day life is another.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say that for an awful lot of people, certainly including me, I need to be in a place where I can live my normal day-to-day life in the way that I would, or to a large extent, the way that I would back in the West. I need good supermarkets, I need good hospitals, I need a good international school for my son.
Yeah.
These sorts of considerations, they're nothing to do with how beautiful a place is. They're practicalities of a day-to-day life, and they go a long way towards making your life happy and convenient. And if you don't have them, over any kind of extended period, I think that the inconvenience that you suffer does make you quite unhappy. So, certainly it was very interesting because they had that attitude, typical Hong Kong attitude, we'll go to Thailand, we're going to live in Phuket. But once they actually were, to an extent, forced to come and look here, they were shocked by what it is today. And the reality is that an awful lot of people in Hong Kong, perhaps to the same extent, to an extent, Singapore as well, their perception of Thailand, their perception of Pattaya is old. It's perhaps 10 to 15 years out of date. Obviously, Pattaya,
and it's not the same place now.
It's not. I mean, fundamentally now, as you will see very, very clearly if you go to any Lighthouse Club event, and you've got sometimes 300 to 400 people, typically expats, living and working here. You've got 38 industrial estates that surround Pattaya, with huge multinational companies from all over the world operating here. And Pattaya is a focal point, typically, for their expatriate staff. You've got restaurants that wouldn't be out of place in any city in the world. High quality food, but nevertheless still affordable. Going back to the cost of living point that you made with Phuket. You've got pastimes. If people are retiring, there's all sorts of things to do here. Obviously, for a lot of people, it is golf. And I think you've got 23 golf facilities here, many of which have 27 or 36 holes, most of which are very, very high quality when you consider them on an international scale.
Actually, on the quality side of things, I did meet a guy last week who's over here for about 3 months. He works on the oil platforms and in that sort of industry. And he's here for 3 months and he's playing a bit of golf. And he just did say, after going out and playing a few days ago when I met him, so how did it go? He said, it's difficult because the courses here are so good compared to what he could actually play back in the UK, because there are some good courses in the UK, but can you afford to actually go and play at those good courses if you're in the UK?
Well, that's exactly right. Most courses in the UK are typical club courses. They're not an international standard, and they couldn't host an international golf tournament. the other way. It's the other way around here. The vast majority of golf courses are of an international standard and could happily, with a little bit of work, host pretty much any professional tournament. And many of them have, of course. I mean, I remember when my dad used to bring his clubs over to play. You know, he plays at a very nice club in the UK. In fact, one of the girls on the Solheim Cup team is from his club, and I think they played a couple of weeks ago.
Which we don't want to mention at all, that the Brits won it for a change.
Indeed. But yeah, it's a very nice club. But there, it's, I think, probably less than 6,000 yards. When he comes here, and you're talking about even off the not, I think the yellow tees or the white tees, I get them mixed up. But you're talking 6,600, 6,800 yards. They're long courses, and also here you don't get the run like you do in the UK, because the grass tends to be quite cushioned, so the ball lands and it pretty much stops quite quickly. Whereas in the UK, particularly in the summer, the hard ground lets the ball bound on forever. And in the end, they just were too long for him, and he didn't really enjoy the game. And you know, it's indicative of this very significant difference between a typical UK golf course and the ones that we have here. And he estimated that there was probably 4 or 5 shots different in terms of the handicapping. And I think that golf courses have this thing, standard scratch score. You have a par, but then there's a score which is altogether different, which is what a standard scratch player should be scoring on that course. And I think the standard scratch score here between a typical UK 72 par golf course and one of the golf courses we have here is probably, like I say, probably 4 shots or something.
Which is nice. Which again gives you another thing for people coming over here and retiring. A great little place to come if they are a golfer. But there's also other bits and pieces as well. I see all these guys out now. They're microlights, I think they call them, little aeroplanes they like flying around in, which I'm sure you couldn't do in the UK.
Probably not. One would guess it would be illegal, perhaps. I think the regulations are probably tighter there. Obviously, I think you can also do that down in Phuket now, but I was just being told the other day, while you can, it's very significantly more expensive again. Sailing, another good example. I think the sailing fraternity in Phuket is obviously significant, but again, it's pretty expensive. I think down here at Ocean Marina, and to a lesser extent, for smaller boats at least, at the Royal Varuna Yacht Club, the sailing's very, very good. Those who are in the know tell me that sailing here is exceptionally good. For example, off Pratumnak there, you've got the Golan, which provides some protection, but nevertheless you get good winds. It's a great environment in which to sail. I think down at Ocean Marina they have weekly regattas every Saturday and Sunday, and a very active social scene there.
Top of the Golf Regatta every year, which is international and growing all the time. And I know that they're also dredging their own moorings, so they can get more and bigger and better boats being able to come down there. So lots of attractions to bring people here into Pattaya. Do we think then in the future it's going to see a lot more of that sort of expats that are in town? They're going to go, actually, Phuket is not the only place. Pattaya is still quite a nice place to come. Ignore the one street down the middle of the road there. We don't need to go there. But apart from that, it's a nice place to come
and
really
retire
or buy.
I absolutely do. I think once you come here, as with the guy that I mentioned, and you see what it is, you don't rely upon the stories that you hear and the gossip in Hong Kong or Singapore or wherever it might be. There are bars here. There's nightlife here. Of course there is. But so is there in Bangkok and Phuket. I just don't think that Pattaya is defined by it in the way it used to be. And the same way Phuket's not defined by it. Bangkok's not defined by it. It's there. Everybody knows it's there. But there's lots of other things to do and lots of other very justifiable reasons to come and live here.
And the same sort of thing with London. I mean, there's a bit of Soho, but it's not the entire London town, is it? It's just a little bit.
Well, that's right. And I think an awful lot of people in places like Hong Kong would be absolutely shocked if they went up to Horseshoe Point for the rugby 10s, or when the Pattaya cricket team was playing, and the expat community turn out and they have a beer and it's very sociable and it's very proper. Or indeed, not that I made it down, but there was the horse riding event, the equestrian event last weekend, and there was the country fair and the barbecue. These are things that I believe the old-fashioned opinion that pervades certain expat cities in and around Asia they wouldn't credit that those sort of things happen here, that the kind of very nice, very friendly expat community that does exist in Pattaya, I don't think they've got any appreciation at all that it's there. But there are other reasons. I mean, you've got lots of people coming here now for the Muay Thai training. By all accounts, we have some of the best Muay Thai training camps in the world.
I'll take your word on that one.
Yeah, well, a friend, one of the parents from my lad's school, he was telling me he goes to one, and he insisted that Mike Tyson had been overtraining with a view to having a go at mixed martial arts, which is very trendy these days.
No biting allowed?
Well, maybe it is. I don't know, but you know, and also you're getting more famous people coming over here now. I mean, as we've said before, Steve Coppola's got a place in North Point, ex-England player, and who did he manage? Reading, I think, very successfully. Jimmy White's now got his bar in Jomtien and is a regular visitor. I think one of the other snooker players was over with him recently. It's a place that, you know, people from the UK, from all walks of life, they're seeing the attraction of the place, whether it's for all the year or limited parts of the year at different times. Lots and lots of people are coming here. And the reason for that is because it does offer the quality of life that people are looking for at the right cost.
Okay, so basically we're still looking at a rosy future, or at least a good outlook on the property market. If you're tuned in, it's Mix 88.5, our property update, brought to you by the award-winning Tudor Group, developers of Tudor Villas, and in its final stages of Tudor Court Condominium, Soi 2 on Pratham Nack, if you want to go down and see it for yourself and see their build quality. A quick look at the money market this week. It's a bit of a strange thing again. Things are going down that you don't expect, and things that are going up that you don't expect. The pound is pretty much the same, 48.13 at the moment. It's very little change from last week. The dollar has made some gains, 31.16 as opposed to 30.9. I would have thought that would have still been going down. And the Aussie dollar is going down, which is surprising. I thought they would be the other way around.
Yeah, I'm at a loss. I really am. I have no idea what's causing it.
Someone in Australia is not very happy at the moment. The euro is obviously still going down again. Another half a baht off that one. 41.44 was this week, 42.03 from last week. So the euro is still not a popular currency. Will it ever fall apart? Who knows? If you're changing your money at the moment, 2 million baht gets you a condo this week, costing 64,164 US dollars, or 41,579 quid. Gets you 2 million baht, gets you a very nice condo. What would you get in the UK for that?
I'm not sure you'd get anything.
A shed in the back garden. Yes, exactly. All right, on the property of the week then, let's have a look and see what we've got as our this week's property of the week as we wrap things up. Don't forget, if you want to see this, you can get it every Friday on Pattaya Mail TV, and also on YouTube as well, if you want to see us one more time. So the property of the week then is a nice little place?
Yeah, it's a property that we've had listed for a little while, but the reason for mentioning it is that the price has been reduced. In fact, not just reduced, slashed is the word, I think.
Like that word.
Indeed, it's a very nice, large, 4-bed, 4-bath house in a popular gated community right in the centre of Pattaya. Albeit just the other side of Sukhumvit Road, just the east side of Sukhumvit Road, but very, very short drive to Sukhumvit. And like I say, very centrally located. It's very nice inside. Really very big, nice European-style kitchen, which tends to appeal to a lot of...
keeps the girls happy.
Well, indeed. There's, I think it's got built-in, very attractive built-in oven, microwave, and fridge, and so on and so forth. It's really very nice. Anyway, it was 60,000 baht per month, which is not massively unreasonable for a house in that location of that size. Maybe a bit too expensive, but now it's down to 30,000 baht per month, which is a very good deal.
Bargain hunters. If you want to know more about that, you can contact Tim. The email address is pattaya@solmansthailand.com. The phone number 0382525588. We'll be back same time, same place next week. As always, Tim, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you, Russell.
You've been watching the Mix 88.5 Property Update here at PMTV, brought to you by the award-winning Tudor Group. We'll see you same time, same place next week.
Houses, condos or land? Buy, rent or sell? Should we invest now or in the future? The Mix 88.5 Property Update.